All right, this video is going to be why you should not move to Alaska. My poor wolf ruff is a little bit disarrayed, but this is a good reason. It's cold. That's the number one reason why people do not move to Alaska. It's cold. And right now it's probably about I think it's about zero out here. It might be a little bit colder than zero. I'm on the bank of the Knik River. It's completely frozen over. I wouldn't want to drive out there right now, but sometimes you can drive out. It's November 28th. Hasn't had time to freeze really, really solid, although it has been cold. It's been one of the coldest Novembers I can remember. I think someone told me it's about the coldest November in at least 30 years here in Alaska, or at least in south central Alaska. So it's been cold. That's the number one reason people don't live here. Some people say, oh, I love the cold. Well, how much do you love the cold? Do you love the cold day after day after day after day? That's what we've had this November. So think about that before you move up here. You know, it's cold. It's cold up here. The other reason people don't move to Alaska is because it's a long ways away. Do you realize that by air, I think it's, 2,600 miles to Washington? You better check my numbers. It might be less than that. But that's the closest state to us, Washington State. And it's a good long flight, and it's a long drive. Maybe it's 2,600 miles by car. I think that's more like it. But it's still a long ways from anything in the lower 48, we call it, or sometimes we call it the lesser 48. You know, even Texas is smaller than Alaska by quite a bit. But still, it's a long ways away from Texas, a long ways away from Florida. We have people move here from Florida, believe it or not, quite often, from the opposite end of the country. But it's tough to be that far away from family. That's what you need to think about. Long ways away from family if you're moving away from family. Now, I've been here for 67 years. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I've tried it a little bit, but our family's here, thankfully. Got 4 children, and they're still in Alaska. I suppose if they all moved out of Alaska, I'd have more incentive to leave myself. But right now, I don't have any incentive to leave, even at whatever the temperature is right now. I think it's probably below zero by a little bit. And I wanted to take this on a day like today. You can see the mountains, okay? But it's kind of dreary. And I think it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun's going to set about 3:30. And that's the other reason why you shouldn't move to Alaska. If you don't like the dark, it's dark 6 months of the year. Of course, it's light 6 months of the year, too. It's not really dark 6 months of the year. This month, the end of November, December, January, it does get noticeably darker faster and longer. But, you know, by the middle of March, we have more light than you do if you're south of us. Actually, by the 21st of March, that's today, the equinox. And the spring equinox, after spring equinox, we'll have more light than you will until September 21st, and then we'll have more dark than you will. And a lot of people can't handle that dark. So that's the other reason. If you're afraid of darkness, if you don't want to live where it's dark in the wintertime, hey, you shouldn't be here. I'm going to talk about a few other things that people don't think about. I had a guy call me just the other day, and he said, well, you know, how close is that to the swamp? And I said, well, you know, it's kind of close. Oh, there'll be a lot of mosquitoes. Well, let me tell you something. If you're in Alaska, there's going to be a lot of mosquitoes, unless you're in the big city. Now, maybe you live in Anchorage or even the other big cities where there's almost no brush. There might not be very many mosquitoes, but everywhere else in Alaska, there's a lot of mosquitoes. And other people tell me, oh, you've never lived where I lived. Let me tell you, there's a lot of mosquitoes. My record right now so far, and it was set quite a while ago, was 32 mosquitoes in one swat. I counted them. There's a lot of mosquitoes. There's a few other reasons why you might not want to live here in Alaska. If you don't like to fish and hunt, and you don't like the outdoors, why would you be here? If you like the big city, we do have Anchorage, but compared to a big city, it's nothing. So if you like a lot of people, if you like where there's all kinds of people things going on, concerts and shows and those types of things, you might not want to come to Alaska. This isn't that sort of thing. Look where I'm at right now. This is what a lot of Alaska looks like. A huge amount of it looks like this. You don't see any people out there. See any people out there? No people. So if you want to be where people are, you shouldn't be here. You're gonna get bored pretty quickly. But if you like the outdoors and if you can handle the winter, you're ready to dress warm for it, you might like it. A lot of people come up here and then they leave right away, and I've already told you the first 3 reasons are why they leave. Number 1, it's cold. Number 2, there's families a long ways away, distance. And number 3, it's dark. Those are the three reasons people tell me why they're leaving. But if you want to come up and you're tough, you're welcome. There's not that many of us up here. Talk to you later.